I've been chewing on this word for like 3 weeks. I've been kind of just, the Lord's been doing, because we had our TBE Community Day, which was fantastic and awesome, and then we didn't have TBE because it was right before Easter last week, and so I've had a couple weeks to kind of really, chew on some things, and I had this whole message planned, and then God's like, on Thursday, nope. I'm like, okay. We're going to do something different. So, but it kind of ties into everything that I'm doing. And then even when I was like finishing up typing everything yesterday, it still didn't end the way I thought it was going to end. So it's just cool how if you're just open to the Holy Spirit, what's going to come out is what is supposed to come out. So I had a wonderful PowerPoint planned. Can't see it right now, but that's okay. I had some really pretty pictures, and I haven't been really big on my PowerPoints the past couple times, and I was like, no, I did a good PowerPoint, and well, it just wasn't meant to be. But anyways, my message today is time well spent. And then it's about Jesus being in the Garden of Gethsemane. So I was sharing the details of Holy Week with my kids for the past couple weeks, and this aha moment kind of happened, and I had to do like a deep dive into all the things of Holy Week and Jesus and all the stuff. So it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was reading in my kids. Now we have a bunch of little kid Bibles or whatever, but most kid Bibles have lots of pictures, and they have different cartoons and stuff like that. And so I was showing it to, I guess it was Bella. And we're going through, Jesus riding on the donkey. That was her favorite part, because if you know Bella, she loves unicorns and donkeys. And so there's no in between. So she loved that. And we're going through, and it shows Jesus being in the Garden of Gethsemane. And I have read that story in all the Gospels multiple times. And I'm like, okay, he's in the garden, all this kind of stuff happened. But then in the picture, it shows the 3 disciples, Peter, James, and John. They're sleeping, and I had a picture of the picture on my PowerPoint, but I can't show it to you here. But they're sleeping, and then there's a picture of Jesus, cartoon Jesus, and he was like had a really sad look. And at that moment, you know how sometimes when you read in the Bible and you read a verse you've read 1,000 times, and all of a sudden it just, bam, it just means something different, it just comes alive. Well, that's how this picture did to what Jesus was going through. And it really was, that picture in a little kid's Bible is the whole reason I'm doing this message. Time well spent. So it's just kind of cool, how God, you never know when God's going to speak to you, and then what rabbit trails it goes through from there. So, does anyone here have Bibles, physical Bibles, or Bibles on their phone? Okay, if you have the Bible app on your phone, if you don't have it, download it now, because we're going to do lots of Bible verse reading today. If not, do we have the Bibles in the back, Jimmy? If you need a Bible, raise your hand. If you have it on your phone, give me a thumbs up. Because it's interesting. I am a pen and paper kind of person. I do a lot of stuff on the computer and on my phone, but when I read a book, I want to physically read a book, turn the pages, I want to smell the pages, I want to do the dog ear on the pages, I want to mark up in the pages. I don't want to read it on a screen. I can, but I just don't like to. But when you're reading the Word of God, from actually the Bible, the physical, tangible, there's just something different about it. I don't know, maybe it's just me. Maybe because I'm just a real paper person, real books. I like the real books. I'm old, I know. Come on, I'm showing my age here. But I'm going to, and if you don't really know where the books of the Bible are, in the very front, they have the table of contents. You can cheat. It's perfectly fine. Nobody, I don't think, in this room really knows every single solitary where it is, and that's okay. No judgment here, no shame. Just go to the table of contents. I would be doing that too, but I typed mine up on my computer, so I can just read it. So we're going to do a bunch of verses, and then we're going to we're going to read them. Well, I'm going to read them out loud, and you guys can follow along. So I did that part. So I started doing this deep dive about the garden. And so I was, doing some research, and the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, I love them because it's almost all red because it's Jesus talking. And I've been learning, my goal at the beginning of the year was to read the Bible all the way through in 1 year. I'm a couple days behind, but I've been doing all Old Testament and Deuteronomy and Exodus and Numbers, and it's not as exciting as reading the red letter. It really isn't. It's not nearly. So when I was doing the gospel, when I was doing my deep dive, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much more exciting than Numbers. I love the four gospels because they're all the same, but they're all different. They give you little nuggets that the other one didn't give, and it kind of gives you the full picture, And so I'm going there, and I'm writing all this stuff down, and then I was reading this commentary, and this person perfectly describes everything I wanted to say. So I'm just going to read what this person did because it's exactly what I would have put down in a lot shorter, condensed form. So I'm going to read this, and then I'll go after that. So it says, according to the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, immediately after the Last Supper, Jesus took a walk to pray. Each gospel offers a slightly different account, and I will have you guys go there in just a second. This is just my synopsis. I lost where I was. Hold on. Each gospel offers a slightly different account regarding the narrative details. The Gospels of Matthew and Mark identify this place as a prayer of the prayer as Gethsemane. Jesus was accompanied by three apostles, Peter, James, and John, whom he had asked to stay awake and pray. Keywords, stay awake and pray. He moved a stone's throw away from them, where he felt overwhelming sadness and anguish, and said, "My Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass me by. Nonetheless, let it be your will, not mine." Then a little while later, he said, "If this cup cannot pass by, but I must drink it, your will be done." He said this prayer 3 times. Keyword. 3 times, checking on the 3 disciples each time in between prayer and finding them asleep. Now, remember, Jesus was a stone throws away. I don't know how far you can throw a stone, but it's probably from here to maybe the second set of doors if you got a good arm on you. Not me. That's not that far. It's really not that far. So keep that in mind. And so, I lost where I was. He commented, the spirit is, so he comes back, they're all asleep. He commented, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Keyword. An angel came from heaven to strengthen him, and during his agony, as he prayed, his sweat was, as it were, great drops of blood falling down upon the ground. At the conclusion of the narrative, Jesus accepts that the hour has come for him to be betrayed. So that's just our synopsis. We're going to go deep diving. That's my word of the day, deep dive. But when you really got to research something, you got to go to a deep dive. All right, so let's go to Matthew. See, we're doing the application time while we're doing it. You guys are going to have to physically do some stuff. All right, changing it up on you. All right, Matthew 26. And then I'll tell you the other part. So everyone go to Matthew 26. Well, there you go. Winning. 36 through 46. So give me a thumbs up. 26. Yep, and then it's 36 through 46. All the sixes. We're doing lots of good things. Right, gentlemen on the right, when you get it, give me a thumbs up. Okay, we got 1 thumbs up. It's in Matthew. It's the first book of the New Testament. It's kind of like towards the end of the Bible. The middle towards the end. Well, it's past Psalms. Psalms is the middle, and then it's a little bit past that. All right, so Matthew 26, 36 through 46. This is where we're going to deep dive a little bit for where Jesus told them 3 times what to do. All right, So in 36 it says, "Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, 'Sit here while I go over there and pray.' He took Peter and the two sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, 'My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me.'" Keywords. Going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will." Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. "Couldn't you men keep watch with me for 1 hour?" he asked Peter. I like to add in a little sarcasm and a little bit of umph when Jesus talks, because that's like, come on, people, 1 hour is all you had. "Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." He went away a second time and prayed, "My Father, if it's not possible for this cup to be taken away, unless I drink it, may your will be done." When he came back, he found them sleeping again because their eyes were heavy. So he left them and went away once more and prayed the third time, saying the same thing. Then he returned to his disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour has come, and the Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer." All right, so there's lots of stuff in there. So I'm going to go back up a little bit. So that is Matthew's take on everything. So Jesus is in the garden, and I had a really pretty picture of what the real Garden of Gethsemane looks like. It doesn't look like our gardens because there's like olive trees. It's really cool, but I don't have that. So just imagine a garden. So, but he's there, and like this is the part where Jesus is going to take on the sin of the world. He was no sin. He had no sin, but he had to take it on so that we can be reunited with God. So this is the point where it's starting to come upon him. I don't know about you guys, but just my sin alone makes me want to throw up. So I can't imagine billions of people, the past, the present, and the future, of him taking on all the grossness and all of the sin. Like it was overwhelming. And so Jesus, it was overwhelming to him because he had never sinned, but here he is, he's taking it on. And that's why he said, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death." He was in a really vulnerable state. And what did he tell his three most trusted disciples? "Hey, keep watch. Like I'm going through a lot of stuff. Just keep watch." Because he knows Judas was going to be coming, but he knew he had to go through this process. And then he finds them sleeping 3 times. 3 times. You would think after the first time, they're like, "Ooh, Jesus is going to get mad at us. Come on, guys, let's stay awake." No, they didn't even try. Like they're like, "Ooh, let's go to sleep." I can't imagine. So they go through, and so over 3 times, Jesus asks, I think 3 is a powerful number. So he goes through, and he asks God, and then he comes back, he finds them sleeping, and then at the very end, and this is the part that really just gripped my heart, and that's where the picture was in the kids' Bible of Jesus' face. For some reason, the cartoon face just really got me, but it says, "Look, the hour has come, and the Son of Man is being delivered into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer." So at that point, Jesus is like, "You wasted time. Their time was not well spent. Here they are. They have walked with him for 3 years. All of them. They have seen the miracles and people being raised from the dead and like all the things. And and Jesus knew, like the Last Supper. Now, Jesus kept on giving them hints. We're going to go there in a second. Jesus kept giving them hints. Hey, the Son of Man has to go, and I'm going to bring you the helper, and blah blah blah, all that stuff. And they're not getting it. They're thinking he's going to be a real king, and like they're just not getting it. But this was their last hours with Jesus, and they wasted it. Like, I don't know if they ever thought. I've never ever had the thought enter my mind, "Oh my gosh, the disciples wasted." Like, it was just an interesting thing that the Lord was like teaching me. But like, Jesus needed them in those however many hours it was, 2 to 3 hours of praying, and they missed out. They missed out. And so it made me think, well, gosh, how much stuff am I missing out because I'm tired, or I'm sleeping, or my flesh is weak, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to keep on going that. So that was in Matthew. So let's go to, I didn't write down where it was. I erased what book of the Bible it was from. All right, stone throw away. Stone's throw. I think that was in John. It's 39 through 46. I don't know what book of the Bible it was or what chapter, but there you go. You guys can't get to it. I don't know. I might have it in my phone, but anyways, you guys can listen to this one. You get a get out of jail free card on this one because I didn't write down the actual verse. I must have erased it. All right. So now in the book, I know it's in John. So in the book of John, now Matthew, they just said he was, he walked away and he went to go pray. But actually in John, it's saying he was only a stone's throw away. That's not that far. So in verse 39 it says, Jesus went out as usual to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. On reaching the place, he said to them, pray that you will not fall into temptation. Matthew said the same thing. He withdrew about a stone's throw beyond them and knelt down and prayed. So they were still close to him. They were from me to Josh. Maybe a little bit farther, but not that far at all. They could have been right there with him, but they were so far away. How many times are we so close? I feel like a good example is with my kids. I am surrounded by my kids. I love them. I do love them, but I'm surrounded by them. But then when they were young, when Bella was first born, I was completely surrounded by kids and Mark my whole life, but I felt so alone at the same time. I was never physically alone, but I felt so alone. Same thing here. They were so close to Jesus, but their hearts, they were sleeping, and they were in the flesh and everything. So they were just a stone's throw beyond them, and he knelt down and prayed. He says, Father, if you're willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done. This is cool. This is only in the book of John. When I read all the 4 Gospels, it says, and I had never, ever read this part until a week ago. It says, an angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him. And being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. When he rose from prayer and went back to the disciples, he found them asleep, exhausted from sorrow. Why are you sleeping? He asked them. Get up and pray that so you will not fall into temptation. Now in John, it doesn't talk about how many times he went back. Matthew gave us that little tidbit. But in the book of John, it gives us 2 really good tidbits. One, Jesus was only a stone throws away. It's not that far. They could probably even see him. And then an angel of heaven appeared to him and strengthened him. What do you guys think that looked like? I think that's really cool. Did the disciples, if they were awake, would they have seen the angel? They could have seen one more cool thing happen before Jesus went. But what does that look like with an angel strengthening him? I just thought that was just really cool, and I haven't deep dived really into that too much, but I just think that's so cool that in his moment where humanly he almost could not even handle it, he is sweating blood. And I did research this. It is physically possible to be in so much anguish and fear that you can sweat blood, but it's a very, very rare thing, and it's not even really well documented. Wikipedia did say Jesus in the Bible sweated blood, and I'm like, yes! Yay! Because, normally Wikipedia does not talk about Jesus well at all. So he was in so much anguish, an angel came to help him. I just thought that was really cool. So once again, in the book of John, they missed it. And they might have missed seeing an angel, and they missed, their time was not well spent. Jesus' time was well spent. He was doing everything he knew that he was supposed to be doing. Next one. I do have a verse for this one. The book of John, the 4th gospel, book of John, chapter 12, verses 1 through 8. I'll give you a second to go there. Thumbs up. John 12, 1 through 8. Was it Luke? Okay, there you go. Luke 22. Yeah, okay. So this one is where Mary is anointing Jesus' feet. I love this part. So 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany where Lazarus lived, whom Jesus had already raised from the dead. Here was a dinner was given in Jesus' honor. You have the two sisters. Martha served while Lazarus was among those reclining at the table with him. Then Mary took a pint of pure nard, an expensive perfume. She poured it on Jesus' feet and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. But one of the disciples, Judas Iscariot, who was later to betray him, objected. Why wasn't this perfume sold and the money given to the poor? It was worth a year's wages. He did not say this because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. As keeper of the money bag, he used to help himself to what he put into it. And then Jesus said, "Leave her alone," Jesus replied. "It was intended that she would save this perfume for the day of my burial. You will always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me." So I thought that was just really that last sentence. You'll always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me. Once again, Jesus is foreshadowing, giving them all the hints. Hey, this is the time. Be in the moment, soak up this time with me because it's not going to happen. And so what I really liked was, here you have Mary, and we know the story of Mary and Martha's doing all the work, and she's upset that, Mary's just in awe and just loving at Jesus' feet. And so here's another way that Mary, now I did do a little bit of research. The perfume that she had was worth a year's wages. That's not just something you just pour on someone. Like it is, use a little bit here, a little bit there. But she literally, because of her love for Jesus and she was overwhelmed with her love for him, that she washed his feet. Now, I don't know about you guys. I did wear sandals for this exact example. So these are not Jesus sandals. They're just regular sandals. But back then, they didn't have tennis shoes. They had sandals, and it was dusty. They didn't have roads. They didn't have concrete. They didn't have any of that. So people's feet were disgusting. Disgusting. I mean, feet don't really bother me too much, but can you imagine, their feet were really dirty. And so later on, they talk about how, Jesus washed the disciples' feet, all that. We're not going to get into that. But Mary was the first one. She bows down to him, and she washes his feet. And she doesn't even wait to get a towel or anything to wipe it up. She's crying her tears, and she's putting this perfume, and her hair, of course, her hair is probably a little bit longer back then. She's wiping up with her hair. She is just overwhelmed, and she is giving that. The perfume is like a symbol of she's giving everything for Jesus. And, of course, you have Judas saying, we should have given that to the poor. Of course, we know the intentions of his heart were not good. But then Jesus, he replied, he's like, leave her alone. How many times does Jesus have to tell us, stop, leave it alone, don't worry about it. That issue's not that big of a deal. And so, oops, I went too far. And he said, just leave her alone. And so Mary, unlike the disciples, her time was well spent. She knew, that doesn't say it in the text, but she must have known something, or maybe in her spirit she knew something was happening, but she wanted to show Jesus how much her love was, and that's what she did. So a good example, her time was very well spent. And Jesus even said, she intended that, it was intended that she would save this perfume for the day of my burial. So this happened maybe a couple days before the crucifixion and all that happened, but people were a little stinky back then. They didn't take showers every day. They didn't wear deodorant. And so this really strong perfume, when Jesus is on the cross, he would still have been smelling it. And so, can you imagine, all the stuff going on, and then he just gets a whiff of that smell, and then he probably went back and was just like, oh, Mary did that. It might have comforted him. I don't know. I'm just kind of going with this, but I'm just thinking, for his burial, because they would use perfumes and stuff. And so Jesus is giving them hints, and they're just not getting it. They're just not getting it. All right, the next one is John 12. Are we already in John? Yeah, John 20 through 27, and then verses 35 and 36. Okay, this is where Jesus is going to give them another hint about, okay, the time is short. Let's use our time wisely. So now, are you guys there yet? I'm sorry. You shouldn't have gone too far. Now, there were some Greeks among those who went up to worship at the festival. They came to Philip, who was from Bethsaida in Galilee, with the request, Sir, they said, we would like to see Jesus. Philip went to tell Andrew, and Andrew and Philip in turn told Jesus. Just giving you the backstory. Jesus replied, the hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Very truly I tell you, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. Anyone who loves their life will lose it, while anyone who hates their life in this world will keep it for eternal life. Whoever serves me must follow me, and where I am, my servant also will be. My Father will honor the one who serves me. Now my soul is troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour? No, it was for this very reason I came to this hour. Father, glorify your name. I went too far. Then a voice came from heaven. I never read this part either until I was deep diving. Now, he's talking to all these people. Then a voice came from heaven. I have glorified it and will glorify it again. The crowd that was there and heard it said it had thundered, while others said an angel had spoken to him. Can you imagine? Jesus is talking. Yes, all kinds of awesome things happen. But can you imagine being there and then Jesus is saying this and God talks? I've never audibly heard God. I think that would maybe freak me out and be excited all at the same time. I'm not too sure, but they even had the voice of heaven. They had a sign, a thundering, if nothing else. And these people were they still didn't get it. I'm pretty sure God's like, oh my gosh, oh myself, what is going on? So Jesus said, this voice was for your benefit, not mine. Now is the time for judgment on this world. Now the prince of this world will be driven out, and I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself. He said this to show the kind of death he was going to die. Then Jesus told them, you're going to have the light just a little while longer. Walk while you have the light before darkness overtakes you. Whoever walks in the dark does not know where they are going. Believe in the light while you have the light, so that you may become children of light. When he had finished speaking, Jesus left and hid himself from them. So here he is again. God just spoke. That's pretty cool. And Jesus is telling them once again, hey, the light, me, I'm only going to be here a little longer. He's giving all these hints. How many times has God given us hints? Hey, Heather, you might want to slow down. There's a cop about half a mile up. Get off your phone. Get off yelling at the kids. And I think I probably have told this story before. It's happened so many times. I'm in my zone. If anyone sees me when I'm driving, I'm in a zone. I'm in a zone. And sometimes I speed. I don't do it too much anyway, not too much. But I could be normally on 95, and I'm going to the horse barn. I am in a zone. There's chaos behind me with the kids, and I'm just that. And I'm normally going 83. It's probably not a good speed. But I go, and then that little still voice is like, you're going 83. Yes, I am. And then if I don't listen to that voice, I wish would boom, and I wish it would yell at me, because that would be better sometimes. But I have to be in tune. A little voice, you need to slow down. And so, and then sure enough, almost every single time that little voice talks, there's a cop, and there's a cop there. Several times I've gotten tickets. But it did not take me too long to realize I need to listen to that little voice. It's the same thing, except they didn't have a little voice. They had the voice. They had Jesus there talking to them. But he's like, hey, just so you know, I'm only going to be here a little while longer. And so he's giving all these hints to hey, it's spend some time with me, learn everything you can, because it's going to be different after this. All right, so time well spent. So that was the people who were there. They heard God. They heard the voice of God in some shape or form, like that. It was time well spent. So John 13. You guys don't have to go too far. We're sticking in John. You can tell I really like the book of John. John 13:1 says, "It was just before the Passover festival. Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end." This is where I think I cried a few times, and I couldn't even wrap my head around it. How many of you have seen The Passion of the Christ, the movie? Yes, I saw it, and it was just heartbreaking and wonderful all at the same time. It was just so well done. And so, I guess you never really think about it, but physically, all the stuff these people did. Here on Sunday, he's on a donkey. They're like, "Woohoo, Jesus, we love you. You're so great. You're going to be the prince, the king of the world, blah, 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 blah." And they love him. And those exact same people, not even 6 days, 4 or 5 days later, are the ones saying, "Crucify him." And they chose to kill him over some really terrible thieves. And can you just imagine all the chaos, all of the drama, and Jesus still he loved them to the end. It just wrecked me, when I read that. How many times have we just kept on messing up, kept on doing what we, not listening to that voice, but he still loved them to the end. How many know of a prodigal son or a daughter where you're praying for them, you're like, "It's never going to happen. Oh my gosh, but God, I need you. You need to save them." And God loved them to the end, and he gives that in you to be able to pray for that. So Jesus knew that his time was short, and he was valuing the moments he had left with his disciples. So here are some questions for you guys. How are we spending our time with Jesus? That's a little bit easier one. For me, I try, not every day is the same, but every morning I wake up. I have 3 kids. The minute they wake up until they go to bed, "Mommy, Mommy, 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 Mark, Heather, 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 can you do this? I don't know." Oh, I am needed all day long. So I wake up, I set my alarm for 4:45. I'll hit the snooze button one time, and then I'm up at 4:55 or so, and I get my coffee, and I sit in my little lounge chair, and then my cat comes in, she sits on my lap, and that's when I have my Jesus time. If I don't have that time of just getting my mind right, saying, "Hi, Jesus. How are you today? Good morning." If I don't have that, everyone in the house knows. Because I'm a little grumpier. My temper's a little bit shorter. I'm not a good person. So we have to spend time with Jesus every day. If you can't do it every moment, it says pray without ceasing. I'm not too sure I've mastered that, but we need to constantly be in communion and talking to him and listening. And I'm not just giving him a to-do list. We need to be listening. And how are we spending our time with family members? I can be totally guilty of this, especially with my kids, because they need me so much. And I do have a job, and I have to do stuff with my job online, and I have to do stuff on my phone. And a lot of times I'm like, "Guys, just give me 5 more minutes. Just give me 5 more minutes." But then I'm missing out on a really cute moment that Bella wanted to show me, her doing a little unicorn twirl or whatever she was doing. And so I feel like I've missed it sometimes. And so this whole thing has made me realize I need to be present. Also, I have to get work done. I can't not get work done, but I also need to be present and to be there for my family members, also with Mark. And then your friends. How are you spending time with, your friends? Are you spending too much time with your friends and not enough with Jesus? Is there an imbalance? Or is it balanced? Or do you just don't like people and you don't spend time with anybody because, they're just going to hurt me again? And I was like that, believe it or not. I know not a single person in this room is going to believe this. I used to be shy. No. I know, have guessed. This is what freedom looks like. I never talked. Shocking, I know. But like when I was younger, I was very, very, very skinny. And everyone made fun of me because I had like bird legs. They called me chicken legs, bird legs. They called me Slim Jim. They called me Stick. You know, all the names. And so I was super, super self-conscious. And I thought everyone, when they would whisper, I thought they were talking about me. Like, I just, so I didn't have any friends. And so what do people with not friends do? They become horse people. Horse people generally love horses because they've been hurt by humans, and the horses don't hurt your feelings. And anyone who loves horses knows horses are a woman's best friend. A dog is a man's best friend, but a horse is a woman's best friend. And so I grew up like very like unevenly when it came to friends. Like I was like, well, I don't need any friends. I got my 1,000-pound horse. His name's Fabio. I'm good. Like, you know, I feel like Mark probably feels like he competes a little bit with my fur babies, you know, but we have to make sure that we're spending time equally. Like we're not more friends or family members. Do you have family members that have hurt you, that have hurt your feelings, they have shunned you, they have been mean to you, they have done A, B, C, X, Y, Z, like all the things. And so you're like, I'll keep you right here. Nope, that's not what God wants. Like God wants us to be even in all those areas. So I don't ask these questions to make anyone like feel bad. We all allow distractions into our lives. But you know what? Jesus will always love you to the end. I love that. I need to make that like a shirt. Love you to the end. Like, what is it in, what was that? Oh, the Marvel movie with, what's the last Marvel movie? Does anyone know? The Endgame. In Endgame, at the very end, like Iron Man says, love you 3,000 or whatever. Like, it's kind of like the love you 3,000 and, you know, Jesus is like, I will love them to the end. Even though they've done all these terrible things, even though I've taken on all their sin, I still love them. And so I just thought that was just really cool. So no matter if you fall asleep, like the disciples, if you anoint his feet with costly perfume, or if you're like Peter and you deny him 3 times, he will love you to the end. And love is what is going to get you and me through all the hard times. 1 John 4:18, there is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear involves punishment, and the one who fears is not perfected in love. I preach this to my kids all the time. Perfect love casts out fear. If they're like scared of, I don't want to tell you, Mommy, well, we need to do a deep dive. Like, why are you scared to tell me? And then one time this verse came back and bit me in my arm. And so I'm not really scared of a lot of things, but I do not like spiders. I don't like spiders. They're creepy. They're crawly. I don't like them. I have an unnatural response when I think one is on me. Like I can move really high and really fast. I don't do spiders. And so my son, loved by Jacob, so I was in my car, and there was a spider that we were getting ready to go to school, and it came out of the air vent, and it levitated. I don't even know how it got there that fast. It came up, and it was like right in my windshield. I've just pulled out of the driveway, and I have an unnatural response, and so I pull over the side of the road real quick, ram it into park, and I jump out of the car. Did I save my kids from the human-eating spider? No. They're strapped in their car seats. I am out. Peace out, homies. I am done. And I'm literally, I'm screaming. And then, and Jacob's like, Mommy, it's not that big. It was about this big. I know from way back there it doesn't seem too big, but it was a big spider. And so finally, I had nothing in my car. I had just cleaned my car. I had nothing but a spray bottle of a disinfectant because kids smell. And so I just got that, and I just sprayed my whole windshield. I just sprayed until it curled up and died. I'm like, yes, die. And then Jacob was like, Mommy, I bet that was the mommy and the daddy still inside there. you are not my son. I am not too sure where you came from. And I was like, don't even talk about that. So after literally it took me about 10 minutes to I was like, I don't want to get back in my car. Like the kids were like, Mommy, we're going to be late to school. And I'm like, okay, I'm good. So I finally get in the car. The spider is gone. It is dead. It has shriveled up and it's gone. And so then what does my son, my wonderful 9-year-old, he was like, but Mommy, perfect love casts out fear. You don't know Jesus' love when it comes to spiders. Yes, Jacob. That is right. Yes, you are correct. And he was like, well, Mommy, then you don't need to have any fear. What do I say about that? And I'm like, well, you're right. I don't know how I'm going to get through this, but you're right, son. And then, no, he said that. And then he said, Mommy, I bet the daddy spider is still in there. And I'm like, I don't know who you are. I don't know what's going on here. But anyways, perfect love casts out fear. 1 Peter 4:8. Above all, keep fervent in your love for one another, because love covers a multitude of sins. So when Jesus had to go through all of Holy Week and he had to carry his cross and he got beaten, all the things, and get nailed to the cross, all of that, love covers a multitude of sins. So in that moment, everyone's probably like, I read all these different commentaries and what Jesus was thinking during all that. I'm like, love. That was probably the only thing that was making him take every breath. Love was making him take every step to get to that cross, because love is what nailed him to the cross, because he loves us so much. He doesn't want us to go to hell. He doesn't want us to live on hell on earth. I don't know about you guys. Life is hard. Actually, it was pretty easy from college on down. I was hunky-dory, unicorns. Me and Bella were the same. Life was, for me, very easy, very perfect. But then after that, not so much. And life is hard. And people are messy. And people are not nice. And just all the things. And it just puts weights on you. But we have to love. The whole world and the enemy, his whole goal is to make us to hate. And hate in the Hebrew doesn't mean, it means to push away. So if you are walking in a grocery store or wherever you're at the mall or whatever, and you see someone you don't like and you purposely try to duck out to try to get out of their way, you are hating them in a way. You're like, I don't want to be around them. If you can't be in the same room as someone, that means you still have not gotten over whatever issues. Someone told me that years and years and years and years and years ago. They're like, if you can't be in the same room with someone, or they make you all that, they're like, then you need to deal with your issues. They don't need to deal with their issues. You need to deal. You either need to forgive or you need to do whatever. Forgive is probably the number one thing that you need to do. And so, but love is going to cover a multitude of sins. Love's going to cast out any fear. So all of this, time well spent, looks like loving. It looks like loving yourself, loving Jesus, and loving other people, even when you don't want to, even though you feel like it is impossible, and it's just, we need to love. And now I'm done. Do you have anything else to say, Diane? You had a little testimony, didn't you?
I would say something else.
Okay. I don't know which microphone you get.
I don't need a mic.
Yes, you do.
No, she doesn't.
Okay. Yes, she does. You need a microphone.
It's the one that doesn't have tape on it.
This one?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one works.
I don't really know what I want to say, but God, when you experience His love and when you do make a point to spend time with the Father, because you've been teaching us on this and we've actually done application, but when you make a point in your personal time to do it, and then you want to, like Pastor Jimmy, spoke on Easter about Jesus drawing near, right? Draws you near. Well, when you taste of a good thing, you want to spend more time with the Father. And you can have an attitude of prayer continuously. It's just talking to God. It's having your ear and continually having a heart of praise unto him. But for me, when I've been spending more time and wanting to go deeper and deeper in him, I was telling Heather this week that God is changing my vision. Like, I'm looking through different lenses. I have to drive, US 1 through Fort Pierce, and you see everything on US 1 and Fort Pierce, early morning hours. You have to be very careful, Heather. You cannot drive 83 miles an hour. And you can't. You have to be aware, because people will just walk out into the road, and, there's a lot of people, on substances or something. They're not aware of their environment, and you have to maneuver or slow down or stop sometimes, literally stop. I'm amazed that I haven't seen somebody laying out on the road. But I'm starting to look at people differently. Sorry, I get emotional, but it's awesome, because I'm looking at them not as a person, I'm looking at them as a soul. And like, we've been fundraising for the chairs, and my thing is that chair represents a life. That chair represents a soul. That is a person. That's not a chair. That is a person with a soul. And we're all in process, and God is amazing. He heals. He accepts you where you are, and he'll take you and walk with you. But he's given me a new perspective and new lenses. And so I find myself like looking at this person just in my general, drive, and someone's walking or they're waiting for the bus or anything. And I'm like, Lord, are they saved? Do they know you? Have they had an opportunity to know you? Has anybody shared Jesus with them? This is huge for me, because I was so shy, really shy. But God has given me so much freedom and been bringing me out of that shyness more and more. And it's easy to talk amongst ourselves and our safe zone, right? But what are we doing out there? I'm not saying like, nobody, I don't have to say I'm a Christian. Everybody knows, because I speak it. I mean, I'm like, just in hallelujah, or thank you, Jesus, or you show love to one another. It could be a kind word or a hug or a smile. You never know. Like in my old office, when people would come in and they're angry. People are full of anger, and they might be angry over their water bill at the city. They didn't get their money back, and they're going to come in and take it out on us. And people would say, you have a knack to just turn them around. They're not angry, they're leaving, they're happy, they're thankful, and whatever. It's just being kind. I didn't even help them with their problem. I listened and directed them back to the city, and explained, but it's that smile. It's the kindness and everything. But I thank God for the lenses, the new lenses.
Awesome. Yes. Diane was kind of telling me about that. Was it Thursday? Wednesday, or whatever day it was. And I was kind of telling her a little bit about what I was going to do. And she, she told me all that. I'm like, it's going to fall off. I can't hold that. What's wrong with me? I got to talk with my hands. And she was like, and she was telling me it. And I was like, that is so good. You should share that on Saturday. She's like, what? No, I'm just telling you. And I'm like, no, like that's really good, because that's what we're supposed to have. We're supposed to have a heart change eventually, like all this God stuff and loving Jesus. Like, we got to change out of our old self and start doing, new things, and having, eyes to see. Like, one of my favorite Bible verses, have eyes to see and ears to hear. Like, we need to have our eyes opened up to what God has for us, because what I saw 5 years ago is not what I see now. And what Diane used to see driving down US 1 is not what she sees now. And God needs all of us. Just like Chantel needs, I'm going to talk about Chantel because she just walked in. She needs everybody up here to make it more fullness and to make it whatever it needs to do. Like, we need every person doing what their skill set is. Like, we talked about skills and talents and what you had to do when we did Community Day. We needed every person there. Like, and every person was able to contribute to their skills and talents. But if you never step out, if you never try, then you're never going to be able to bless the person who is looking and needing that blessing or that kindness or that kind word or even a smile. Sometimes that's all I can give is a smile. And you know what? And that's enough. So thank you guys so much for coming. And this has been really fun and amazing. And do we have snacks in the back, Violet?
We have brownies tonight.
Ooh, we got brownies. All right. Can we have Miss Susan, can you pray for us out?
Dear Lord, we thank you for this special